Photography is an incredible way to express your artistic views. Photography 101 scenarios and settings will explain how I use my camera to adapt to any environment. The first scenario is wildlife photography. Wildlife can be unpredictable. At any second, our subjects can run, slither, or fly away. This scenario calls for manual mode. Manual mode lets us adjust any setting that the camera is able to perform. The first setting we should evaluate is shutter speed. With wildlife so unpredictable, find an appropriate speed that is fast enough to catch your subjects just in case they decide to move. The next setting we need to adjust is aperture. Aperture is the process of regulating light through an opening that is expressed as f-stop. The lower the number, the more light allowed. The higher the number, the less light allowed. Aperture also affects the depth of field. DOF determines the closest and farthest objects in an image. The smaller the f-stop equals, smaller DOF. Larger the f-stop equals, larger DOF. The last setting is ISO. ISO refers to the light sensitivity of the camera. Low ISO equals darker and less grain. High ISO equals brighter and more grain in your photos. Manual mode, shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. Remember that each one of these settings is crucial to capturing the perfect photo of wildlife. The second scenario is what type of lens to use. Each lens has a different focal length. Focal length determines field of view. Larger focal length equals small field of view. Small focal length equals large field of view. Macro lens is dedicated to be optimized to handle extremely close focusing distances and can take sharp, highly detailed images of small subjects. Focal length varies. Wide-angle lenses produce a large field of view, 8mm to 35mm. Used for landscapes and architecture, they allow the photographer to get as close to the subject as possible without excluding background detail. Standard lenses produce a standard field of view, 40mm to 60mm in focal length. These types of photos feel normal to the viewer. They can be used to photograph anything from portraits to landscape. Telephoto lenses produce a small field of view. They usually exceed 70mm in focal length. Medium telephoto length is anything from 70 to 200, and super telephoto is anything longer than 300. Telephoto lenses make subjects appear closer to the camera, allowing you to take photos that in normal circumstances you would not be able to get close to. They also help emphasize blurred backgrounds, referred to as bokeh. Bokeh, by definition, is the visual quality of the out-of-focus areas in a photographic image. It is one of the most popular subjects in photography. It makes photographs visually appealing. Bokeh derives from the Japanese language and translates to blur. It can be any type of background, forcing us to focus on a particular area of the image: grass, buildings, people, or even points of light. The next scenario is long exposure. It can be used in both the studio and outdoor environment. Scout your location in advance and make sure that if there are moving subjects, they will fall into place with your ideas. While shooting long exposure, you must use a tripod. If not, your photos will look distorted. Next, you must set the exposure level by adjusting aperture and lock onto your subject before taking the photo. The last setting you need to adjust is shutter speed. In most cases, the shutter speed can be anywhere from 5 to 60 seconds. Long exposure images work best when you have something moving contrasted with something stationary. The final scenario we are going to visit is drone photography. Drones are an incredible piece of technology. You can fly to remote places and take outstanding footage in an instance. Drones have evolved over the years and are an essential asset to have in your photography arsenal. Drones also take immaculate videos. Once a photographer has the handle of how to fly a drone, anything is possible.